Vamos lá. Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to talk about Iron, Mike Tyson, and self-defense. Before that, subscribe the channel, leave your comments, like and share the video, okay? So, Iron Mike Tyson. What a professional boxing career. What a career. We're talking about legends boxing. We're talking about a Hall of Famer. Yes, Mike Tyson is a Hall of Famer. Twice he was World Heavyweight Champion. Twice. So 2 reigns and fantastic statistics. So a lot of wins and some losses. Well, Mike Tyson started his professional boxing career in 1985, and 1 year later, World Heavyweight Champion. So in 1986, Mike Tyson broke a record. He became the youngest World Heavyweight Champion in history at 20 years old. So Mike Tyson was 20 years old when he became World Champion. And I think this is a record that, of course, it can be broken in the future. We don't know the future, but it will be very difficult. We're talking about 20 years of age, so very, very young. And Mike Tyson had a long, long reign from 1986 until 1990. So almost 4 years. It was about 3 years and some months. It was a long reign. His first reign was a long reign, and well, he was very famous because he competed, of course, in the heavyweight division, but he wasn't the biggest. Mike Tyson wasn't the biggest of the heavyweights, so it was not too tall for a heavyweight. That's a fact. But he defeated many of his opponents in the first round, or in the second round. So very tall in the boxing fight. That's a fact. And in 1990, it was an upset. He lost to Buster Douglas, James Buster Douglas. Well, the bets were all against the Buster Douglas. So everybody was thinking that Mike Tyson would win that fight. But the odds were on Tyson's favor, but lost by knockout. Buster Douglas became World Heavyweight Champion for the first time and the only time he was World Champion. So, 1990, Mike Tyson lost the World Championship, and then, well, he was starting to have personal issues, a lot of problems, and he was arrested. Then, and he was out of a boxing ring until 1995. So, if I can remember well, it was between 1992 and 1995. No boxing fights. 1995, Mike Tyson returns. returned in 1995 to boxing world, and 1996, so 1 year later, he became world heavyweight champion one more time. He defeated Frank Bruno and he won the belt. So one more time, Mike Tyson was world heavyweight champion. But in the same year, so 1996, in the same year, Mike Tyson faced Evander Holyfield, the real deal. And Evander Holyfield won that fight by knockout, technical knockout, and as a consequence, Mike Tyson lost the world championship to Evander Holyfield. So, in the first title defense of his second reign, Mike Tyson lost. So it was a short reign. First one was a long reign, second was a short reign. But 1 year later, a rematch. Yes, a boxing fighting match between Iron Mike Tyson and Evander Holyfield, the real deal. And it was the bite fight. The bite fight. Why? Because Mike Tyson fight the year of Evander Holyfield twice, and he was disqualified, of course. So Evander Holyfield won that fight by disqualification and retained the world title. Mike Tyson was suspended in 1997, so because of that bite fight, he was suspended, and he returned to a boxing ring to fight in 1999. Yes, in 1999. And well, he started winning some fights. He won some fights against Order. And in 2002, he faced Lennox Lewis, the Lion, the Kitchener Thunderbolt, and Mike Tyson lost the fight. And three more fights. So three more fights, once a year. Three more fights, Mike Tyson, and then 2005, Mike Tyson retired as a professional boxer. Retired in 2005. He lost to I don't know if it was some McBride, I think, if I remember well, it was a professional boxer called McBride. And Mike Tyson lost by TKO, I think it was by TKO at that time. And then he retired as a professional boxer. He returned last year to an exhibition fight against Roy Jones Jr., but it was just an exhibition fight. So no professional, only exhibition. So Mike Tyson started his career in 1985 and ended in 2005. So 20 years in professional boxing, but with some years he was out of the boxing world. Why? First, he was arrested, so he couldn't fight because he was arrested, and the second time, well, he was suspended because he cannot fight years boxing fight. So what we can see in Mike Tyson, things that we can use for self-defense. Why? First, Mike Tyson won a lot of his fights. Mike Tyson won very quickly. So in the first round, second round, we're talking about 3 minutes or a little bit more. And in self-defense, the best way is to end the fight quickly. So we can get the example of Mike Tyson and use it for self-defense. So try to end the fight quickly. Because if the fight can be a long fight, well, can happen a lot of things, you know. and of course you don't want to get hurt. And other thing that is important, well, is of course you can use punches for self-defense. You can use a lot of things. You can use punches, kicks, elbows, headbutts, knees, whatever. But you can bite. Yes, of course in boxing it's not allowed to bite, but in a self-defense context, well, if you have no options, of course, if you have no options, and you can have a chance to bite, why not? Why not? You can bite an ear, like Mike Tyson did, or you can bite the hand, the arm, whatever, if necessary, of course, if necessary. And that way, you will defend yourself. That's the goal. The goal is self-defense, it's protection, your safety. That's the goal. So we can look to Mike Tyson professional boxing career, and all he did, all the things he did, and we can take these two things. Of course, we can take the pick and do technique, of course, the pick and do technique, the combos, the combinations of punches, the footwork, the head movement, all these boxing techniques. Of course, we can, and I record videos about that can be used for self-defense, of course. But in this video, two things. So, end the fight quickly, like Mike Tyson did in many professional boxing fights he was in, and fight if necessary. If you don't have any options, you fight because it's your safety that it's on the line. Okay. Well, that's it. This is all for today. See you next time.